Island News, live with Tracey Kennedy. Today is, Thursday already, October 15th. This month is flying by. I know I say that every month, but it still blows my mind how quickly these things happen. So you're listening to me on turtleislandnews.info or Revolution Radio, Studio A. Good morning, everyone. And I will try my best to drop in there today. I've got a lot to talk about. First of all, I've started a new Facebook page. This is for more of our esoteric thoughts to be shared. So the Sanctum Sanctorum. If you would like to join this page, please add me on Facebook. Tracey Kennedy, Red Queen. And I will invite you into the Trace Elements radio group. Well, we will talk about some things found and some things not found. We've got a lot going on. It's about to get even more serious. I follow Cash. I've told you guys that before. And been building some of his work. Now, I realize a lot of people say he promised to make this and that. Well, he is making this and that, and we're making it. Tomorrow, and the countdown is exactly 1 day, 1 hour, 55 minutes, 21, 20, 19 seconds. So he's got a group of ambassadors from around the planet that are going to meet him in Italy. And he's going to give them the tech. There's also some delegates from the nuclear industry, the power industry. They are not going to want to let this go. We all realize that this is not going to be an easy transition because fear has controlled us for a long time. Their money system has controlled us for a very long time. Their banks, their money, their religions controlled us for a long time. You know, the people of our planet are beautiful ones. The ones who have stayed away from all of this. I personally think that they are the chosen people. As soon as we hear about people who have taken that step and come out of the woods, come out of the hills, valleys, they immediately get corrupted. Do you know why? I'm going to say this, and I hope everyone doesn't get mad at me. I know how racist it's going to sound, but bear with me because I think you're going to feel it too. I'm going to put it this way. Do you ever see a group of giraffes giving their babies to elephants so that the elephants can raise them? So that the elephants can teach these little baby giraffes how to be better giraffes. We are all studying this whole planet under a German mind control system. Surprisingly enough, we are not all German. This is the reason, they were controlled by this, and it worked so well between the First and Second World War that they thought we should all be trained like this, to be wonderful little mind-controlled automatons, which we surprisingly are. That horrific thing. When Kish comes with this technology. Talks to people, although it's been readily available, you've just had to study, the patents were out there, you could look, and they have. And the first thing people did was try to make money off it when he expressly said, don't do that. For several reasons. It's not just the tech, it's the intent. This is a spiritual science more than making a ship. People look at things as black and white, up and down, and totally miss the point of all of these things. We are opening up this earth right now. There are reasons that things are being looked at and seen. It's not an accident that technologies are just opening up to us, and a team of science has extended life of atoms using a mirror. Why is that important? They've used light to make atom live longer. Now, I realize they are going to say atom with a T instead of a D-A. It's a T-O. But it's the intent of things, the real meaning of things, how they sound, how they make you feel. You know they're talking about the same thing. The thing that makes us up. The thing that makes all things that we know of up. That does not mean that we are the only things out there. We are by far not the only things. But what we are has been mutated to such an extent that we are not the beings who have stayed away from this. We're not. We are not our brothers and sisters of the ocean. Who all the stories say it's the brothers and sisters of the ocean and the second world, the underworld, that are going to come up. I don't think they're stupid enough, though, to come up and talk to us. They're going to wait for after. We're going to see what's going on tomorrow. We've spoken of so many things, and a couple that I really want to bring up again, because there is a reason to believe that parthenogenesis was primordial, from the pre-production of all life, while sexual generation, the epigenesis, arose later as a result of inferior environmental and nutritive conditions, resulting in diminishing fertility. So I need to repeat this too. Males develop in order to ensure the survival of a species. Yes, guys. Men are around to kick up the dust, to create some healthy trouble, hopefully speaking, to make sure that life goes on. A civilized diet amplifies our need to procreate. This food that we eat. Us who have gone all over the world, and our diets have been changed by the same people who changed our education system. You are a giraffe being trained by elephants. Does not make the elephant bad. Does not make the giraffe bad. Makes you can't eat the food they're feeding you. Pretty much all over the world. If you are from a cold climate, you need completely different food than people from a warm climate. It makes sense. And as we know, but at least it's obvious to me anyway, that the human race has been for centuries in perpetual autumn, going to seed. As we know, many plants, numerous other species, life forms, go to seed, lay their eggs, if you will, just before dying, in preparation for winter. Is our population of over 7 billion, and counting, heading for our own new brand of winter? I felt both compelled and obliged to talk about this today. To post, to speak of these things. And you should know this rare subject of subjects is bottomless as the sea. But don't worry, I have no axe to grind against men, no book to sell, no religion to promote. I'm not a big fan of any of them, or any belief system. Entertaining information about virgin birth or divine birth will not be it will not make sex disappear as we know it. It also doesn't imply children born through normal conception are somehow inferior, or come to this world without gifts. All children are sacred. Blessed be the children. They are our only chance. And I'm not sure that's not already out. Already done. So here's our crash course, because we're going to be going through a bunch of things today. In this beginner's phase of exploration, curiosity almost killed this cat. Later on, as more arcane facts and inspiring people came my way during my search, I found this. Parthenogenesis, from Greek, partheno, virgin origin. Many of the stories we get of ancient leaders, elders, wise men specifically, like Buddha's mom, Jesus, Da Vinci, Joan of Arc, Mary, St. Catherine, Moses, Zoroaster, Plato, scores of other geniuses and visionaries and healers throughout history have claimed to come here this way. Many of the alleged lower species, which they're not if they're made of atoms, they are equal to us. No more, no less. It's not too shocking to me to assume that humans are based on the exact same principles that run everything in this cosmos. Now, based on the fact that we are made up of the exact same elements that everything is made up of. That alone. I can't imagine why scientists are not more curious about this when they are now finding telomeres and mitochondrial DNA, which is how we live, and how we may have, at one point, live forever. Not here. Not that we know of course. But somewhere deep in your memory, you know the ancient ways. And I know you know. And this is why you find yourself drawn by a deep-seated urge. An urge so powerful that you don't even question it. You can't fight it. You want it. You long for this knowledge. There are things we've been told that are obviously lies. And as a blogger or a YouTuber or a Facebooker, you only have to include a word like Naribu, and you get intense hits, feedback from the scared audience. It's so shocking how easy it is to program our minds to tell us something that can't be true. Sitchin invented Naribu and the Anunnaki lie on behalf of the Illuminati. It must have been around the infamous year 2003 that I saw this book, 12th Planet. Absolutely innocent. I was looking for information on aliens and UFOs and stumbled across this thing called Zeta Talk, this website. And it's unbelievable to me that this crap is still online. This whole Earth cataclysm, pole shift, Armageddon scenario is very new. Very shocking to me at the time. So by Sitchin's work, I plan to deepen my information on the subject. He is the one who introduced the ancient myths about Naribu as Planet X and alien visitors of the Anunnaki. His claims, propagated still to this day all over the world, all over the web, all over pages and pages. I'm not going to reproduce them for you, because unfortunately, I never came to the first couple of pages of this crap. This stuff is so boring, no scientific persuasive power. Now, almost a decade later, understand why my intuition on this hindered me from wasting my time on Sitchin. The Sumerian tablet. And I'm going to show you some pictures. I'll post them up. Take a look. "2012 was a hoax." Sitchin, his self-introduction on the back of his books and on the internet, always tried to imply that he had graduated in ancient languages and history. Truth is, he graduated from the London School of Economics, University of London, majoring in economic history. That should be the end. All the time he wrote the books, there was absolutely nothing and no chance of correctly translating any ancient Sumer or Chaldean, which is the majority of stuff about the Anunnaki. It is not Sumerian, it is Chaldean, and even they admit that they got these stories from South Africa. Now, at the time, studying economics, one of the most distinct and qualified critics of Sitchin's work, Dr. Michael Hesser, M.A., Ph.D., in the Hebrew Bible, ancient Semitic languages, said the scientific questions, his open letters to Sitchin from about 2001, were never answered because Sitchin couldn't. And of course, when he passed away in 2010, he had spent the year before his life backpedaling, trying not to answer any of these questions because he cannot. Now, the 12th planet. There would have to be 12 planets because you are studying voodoo, kids. There are houses, there are signs, there are ancient myths. This is the goddess Kali. This is who you're worshiping right now. This is this planet's mindset. We have been steered towards a certain thing. When we have Michio Kaku talking about genetic manipulation and cloning, saying, we should resurrect dinosaurs. We should resurrect Neanderthal men. Really? For a moment, it sounded like he actually had a head on his shoulders, but just friggin' lost me about that. When we know for a fact that there was a Eurasian African migration, that we are family, like it or not, that there needs to be no alien genetic manipulations to give us the three basics of our hair. And it's why we find red-headed hair. We have black, we have red, we have yellow. That's it. That's it. Those are the stages of your hair. Hair contains a mixture of black, well, brown, really, and yellow. Melanin. The red could be, you can look at this as a side product and go black, brown, yellow, and red if you like. So that would be 4. Melanin is less chemically stable than pheomelanin. It's probably where we get phenotype. Breaks down faster when oxidized. It is for this reason that Egyptian mummies and mummies from all over the planet sometimes have reddish hair. The color of hair changes faster under extreme conditions. It changes more slowly under dry, oxidating conditions, such as burials in sand, quick burials in ice, than under wet, reducing conditions, such as burials in wood or plastic or plaster coffins. This happens everywhere to anyone all the time. So you won't find your mythical gods, especially the white ones, from another place, looking at that. Are there aliens? Oh yeah. Yep, I 100% think there are aliens. I think we've left here, myself. I think we've left. We've come back. I can't believe we have been only this stupid once. I can't. And our pleasant era, like what we're going through right now, it is the era of gold and silver. Gold and silver is oil. A major center of which is Houston, Texas. Houston, 112. The next to last pope, 112. You see how the oil era is thus a forecast via olive oil as a symbol, the center of Gethsemane. Olive oil is Eve. It is new Eve. It is the new matrix. This plainly to me means that indeed Armageddon would arise out of oil struggle in the Middle East. And Houston, Texas is the Western world's capital of oil and gas, as well as NASA and several other horrific things. I'm going to put another link up here. Here we go. So going black. This is the goo again. This is the demiurge and the goddess and the darkness and the fire and the alchemy and the ritual of dissolution. Rebirth. If you want me to be more positive about it. Fallen angels. Creation, destruction. This is the drama. Good as creation, birth. evil as Eve, as destruction, as death, how the fallen archons role play between God and the devil, both good and evil. I think the basic premise is we don't want to believe we screwed this up this badly. Because our modern civilization is about to win the Darwin Award for failure. We're serious. For failing to pay attention to real threats and looking at other things. We've talked about our origins, I want to show you something else. And I'm putting up a whole bunch of links, and I'm going to put them in a page after, I promise. Yeah, it's a two-faced God. It always is the two-faced God. We look at the language. Look at the languages all over the world. The Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, and the Romans were our teachers. When we first, us giraffes, were all taught by the elephants. Although we are not all giraffes. They herded us into a little giraffe-like pen and had the elephants teach us. But who were their teachers? Scripts from Northern America, Egypt, China, the Indus Valley, Easter Island all indicate one origin. I have a picture. Yeah, giraffes have beautiful eyes. They're gorgeous things. White people are beautiful. I love that guy. I always forget his name. He's all tall and Viking-y. I'm telling you, put a hammer in his hand. We got Thor right there. He's so cute. See? Now I forgot what I was talking about. Anyway, we could teach ourselves, and that does not make us hate other people who are different. Just saying that we are not those people, and we could be ourselves and not have to meld this way. Although, we're going to be screwing everyone. We're dirty. Yes, they have beautiful eyes. Now, the sources of footprints. After around 5,000 years, the prints are still visible. Enough to read, and the scripts as well. Language is always a first clue. It was soon apparent that root words in every language all had one origin. And surprisingly enough, from the Middle East. That looks ridiculous. And I've questioned and questioned with you, does that mean everything was made to look like that? Were we all told why this place? Of all the places in the world, why this place? Why do the Khazarians want this place so badly? Why are people slaughtering for this place so badly? Was it something after the Great Flood or long before? Either way, all language now on this planet, every that I've ever heard or heard of, everyone who crawled out of a cave or walked out of the woods or appeared out of thin air, it leads back to this place, these people, and maybe, just maybe, one great culture, and perhaps one great continent. Written signs added evidence to this. A single system of signs used over an extensive area of the earth by the stone writers originated likewise Middle East. Anthropology provided another helpful clue. The best reconstruction by anthropologists located man's point of origin close to the center of a Euro-Asia-Africa landmass. And I have a picture of this. And you can see all of us there. You could see why our stories are there. You could see why we kind of play the same music, dance some of the same dances. You can see this island. Pan the Lhasa. You can see it. It's a big island. Now, finds all over the world have proven this, clinched this. You cannot get away from it. Agriculture all over the world, plants all over the world, spread over the world. From where else? The Middle East highlands. We have trees. There's no way that we should have trees in Canada that are in Africa, but we do. In every instance, plants, shrubs, fruit-bearing trees, basic to survival, basic to advancement, came out of the Middle East first. Biological, genetic studies confirm these finds, leave no doubt that there was, our beginnings were in the Middle East highlands, on one island that is connected. Like it or not, dysfunctional as we may be, we are a family. And now, this brings me to the other thing. The most popular piece that I put up yesterday on my Facebook. Now I have a Facebook for me and my family and little kitten pictures and stuff. I have the Trace Elements radio group if you want to dive deeper with me. I have turtleislandnews.info, mostly news, native stuff. But on all three, one post outdid every other post by far. Everything I put on my page, on turtleislandnews.info page, everything I put everywhere, one. Made me wonder, because 1 trillion in rare minerals have been found under Afghanistan. Everyone's invaded Afghanistan. I mean, as soon as we could have a stick, we grabbed that stick and went to Afghanistan. Is it all that and the opium? No wonder the Zionists invaded them. One doesn't just find minerals, by the way. It takes years of planning, it takes exploration, it takes geological surveys, of course samples, sample analysis. And what about the ancient sites that we've talked about? Do you remember when they found Gilgamesh? Came out with, we found Gilgamesh. And then birds chirping. Rare earths. Things that are so precious here. By the way, they're in Canada too. Why would they be in Canada and there? You should see my hands right now. One's pointing up here, the other one's pointing down there. There's no way that we should have the exact same minerals there and here. Now, despite being one of the poorest nations on this planet, Afghanistan may be sitting on the richest troves of minerals on this world. U.S. scientists have said at least $1 trillion worth. Afghanistan, a country nearly the size of Texas, loaded with minerals, deposited in violent collisions of the Indian continent with what? Asia. So this is from long, long ago, far, far away. This survey began studying the mineral resources just after the U.S.-led forces drove the Taliban from power in the country 2004. She laughs to herself. Really? Because, oh yeah, we're here to save you. By the way, here's these geologists. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. So, as it turns out, the Afghanistan Geological Survey staff had kept Soviet geological maps. Is that right? And reports for up to 50 years, probably more, that hinted at a mine, a gold mine, several mines. Now, the world's rarest gemstones. 2006, U.S. researchers again flew airborne missions to conduct magnetic gravity hyperspatial surveys over Afghanistan. Certain areas were demolished of, people. By accident, of course. But to run the magnetic surveys, probe for the iron-bearing minerals, up to 6 miles underground, 10 kilometers below the surface, while gravity surveys tried to identify the sediment-filled basins, potentially rich in oil and gas, and most of the ancient sites that were on top of it were obliterated because they don't care about us. Our history, rich as it is, they're looking for something else. So this hyperspectral survey, which by the way they didn't admit they could do until 2011, but they've done it for a very, very long time. Anyway, it looked at the spectrum of light reflected off the rocks to identify the light signatures unique to each mineral. So, why is it, if we go back to where we started, why is it light that can be used on atoms to make it live longer? Adam, our father, who may have been a Rolling Stone, is mineral collection. We are collections of minerals. Certain lights, sounds, frequencies make those live longer. It's important for a lot of reasons. Now, more than 70% of the entire country was mapped in under 2 months with this fancy-dancy new shiny, shiny things. Tech. The surveys verified all the Soviet finds because the Soviets don't friggin' they know what the heck they're doing. Afghanistan holds 60 million tons of copper, 2.2 billion tons of iron ore, 1.4 million tons of rare earth elements, such as lanthanum, cerium, neodymium, loads of aluminum, gold, silver, zinc, mercury, lithium. Not the kind that they're spraying over our faces so that we're a little bit just drooling on the side of our mouths and rocking back and forth. Going, what? What the heck just happened? The other kind. For instance, they have this carbonite deposit that's in one of Afghanistan's provinces. It's valued at least 89 billion, at least. They're not sure. But it is full of rare earth elements. Rare because it's old. Rare because this was a hub of our ancient peoples. Afghanistan is a country that is very, very rich in mineral resources. They've identified the potential for at least 24 world-class mineral deposits. Nothing like this has been found. 2010 USGS data, attracted the attention of U.S. Department of Defense. Isn't that, she says to herself. The Task Force for Business and Stability Operations, because there's nothing that says stability like a whole bunch of guns. Am I right? It was entrusted with rebuilding Afghanistan by, remember when I told you those strange attacks that happened on a couple villages where certain soldiers just went nuts and just wiped those people out? Just happens to be on top of some of these things. So this task force valued Afghanistan's mineral resources at 908 billion, while Afghan's government estimates it's at least 3 trillion. But if you're about to steal everybody's stuff, you're going to say, we're going to steal, but it's not that much. And they have announced something even more special. We have a hidden mineral, the fifth element, if you will. It's called bridgemanite. It is about 4.5 billion years old. It's a meteorite that I've told you about that was found in Australia and also found here in Canada. And it's there too. It's supposedly the most abundant mineral. It lies so deep in our Earth's interior that it's sealed off from our eyes. Scientists for the first time have gotten a glimpse of this mineral in nature. Enclosed inside, again, 4.5 billion year old meteorite. It is magnesium and silicate. It's named after a Nobel Prize winning physicist, according to American Geophysical Union blog. Are they excited about this? Well, this little piece in Afghanistan is closest to the surface, the easiest to get at. And over the past 4 years, the USGS and the TFBS, so, the guys like protecting the task force that's for business and stability and operations and killing people, the ones who work with Canada who like to go and steal people's oil, those guys, they have embarked on dozens of excursions into war zones to collect and analyze mineral samples, confirm these findings, performing the essential assessment of these to Afghanistan. What becomes very, very obvious is Afghanistan is a huge amount of pre-planning that has taken place in that country. They say they're going to have to think about it now. No, this has been thought of. This is why a guy in a cave attacked your Twin Towers. Allegedly. They knew this. This is why the Soviet Union is the bad guy. This is why it's so important, and scientists have already decided that they can change your belief system, your ideas about everything, with magnets, silicates, if you will. Very important. As they're dropping millions of vaccines from the sky, animals will eat them. You will walk on them. You will be infected by them, changed by them. Our plants will die from them. What's going on? Please. We know what's going on. What we're seeing on this planet is some of the biggest devastations we have ever seen. We're absolutely going to have hybrids here. Absolutely changing everything. And sometimes I look at it and think we have days. Not years, not hours, but days. The foods that we eat that are mostly hybrid material. Tofu? Let me talk about tofu. Tofu was made by a Jesuit. It has to do with silicates. Silicates that are used to make plastic. It's not food. It is also not an ancient food of Japan. You were told this is how they always ate. They did not. That is a lie. Yet another lie in this system of lies. We have nothing to do with these people. I don't care what color they are. I'm now looking towards the reptilian hybrids as possibly a good thing. Because what we're eating now is so much against everything we are. We absolutely are under attack. And when we think of, okay, what is human? What is it to be human? I look at these hybrids they're making, and a lot of them are pretty darn scary, you know. By 2020, well, supercomputers have already achieved human capacity. 2010, already done. Personal computers will do so by 2020. By the 2030s, the non-biological portion of our intelligence will predominate. Yeah, we're in it. And superhuman abilities. You know, I look at these things and think, what could go wrong, right? What else could go wrong? But superhuman abilities, nanobots, implants, have already made that connect to our brains, to the internet. They say turning us into gods. Now, according to researchers, soon, because they don't want to say, oh yeah, we did that shit. Soon, nanobot implants will connect our brains to the internet. Help us become the next step in human evolution. Because apparently our planet doesn't do it right, so they needed to jump in there. It will give human beings godlike superintelligence. I just, I shake my head. You see me shaking my head? I'm shaking my head right now. Now, all of this could become a reality according to the computer scientists, allowing people to literally back up memories through nanobot technology, even communicate Do it while allowing mankind to expand creativity, emotions, remove any psychological boundaries. Remember the limitless drug that I've told you about? You know the only downside of it? Sure, it makes you super smart. I learned how to make a video, uploaded it. You know, the older videos that I did that were really creative, I did it stoned on this stuff. And let me tell you, you're stoned. And you're very wide awake. And I think that people could be beaten and burnt beside me, and I might not actually have a reaction. I would like to have a reaction, but you don't with this. There's a new Limitless TV show, and this guy's like almost a babbling idiot before he tries it. But if you notice, they hint at this. That he's also not a feeling being after. So they're making these bots. Part of which I'm sure is because our bodies are crumbling. Not so slowly. And they realize there's so much extraordinary things going on. And we still haven't realized to the extent that something extraordinary is happening right now. No one can stand the employment model anymore. Like each one is reaching its own limit. People that work in big corporations can't handle their jobs. The lack of purpose is knocking on the door of each one as a desperate scream coming from your own heart. People want to escape. They want to leave everything behind. Are you seeing that? Look how many people are trying to become entrepreneurs. How many people are going on sabbaticals? How many people are depressed in their jobs? How many people are burnt out no matter what they're doing? Even something that's just supposed to be light and fun. Even the entrepreneurial model is changing. A few years ago, there was an explosion of startups. Thousands of entrepreneurs ran into their garages to create billion-dollar ideas. The glory was to get funded by an investor. Investor's money was in hand, just like winning the World Cup. So what happens after you get funded? You become an employee again. You have people that are not aligned with your dream, that don't give a damn to the purpose, and everything turns into money, and you lose your soul again. Financial return starts to be the main driver. We will continue this. But you get up and stretch your legs and do the hokey pokey. Turn yourself around. You're listening to Turtle Island.
Change will come to those who have no fear, but I am not her, you never were the kind of cat to hold near.
Hours with Tracey Kennedy. We are live on Studio A, Revolution Radio. I thought I'd run over and check how they're doing on the money thing. So far, they've raised $1,595. Their goal is $2,450. So we're doing a little better halfway through the month. Yeah, it sucks that we have to beg for money. It's so impossible. And of course, on purpose. It's so impossible for us to even get by, Now, one of the questions was, what do I think about the Naribu? God. Here's what I can say about that from the research and from what we're seeing happen. Because there's obviously something affecting every planet in our solar system and many other solar systems. It has to do with CERN too. The 10th planet was called Lord Kalki. This goes within the complete list of the 10 incarnations of Vishnu throughout the 4 major ages and their corresponding planets and luminaries. The last is Lord Kalki, the final full embodiment of Lord Vishnu, is said to incarnate at the closing of the Kali Yuga in our current Iron Age that we're in right now. For those who are uninitiated in these matters, we now stand at the end of this age of conflict. The Kali Yuga ends with the passing of Lord Kalki, whose planetary body in the solar system is the 10th planet, sometimes surmised to be a periodic planet comet thing. Other names have been used to label this single planet, which has been surmised to be traveling in an entourage of such large comet planet systems. Still, other names like Teki have been chosen to identify this giant stealth planet located in the Oort cloud, just as Nemesis is the label for the red dwarf or brown dwarf star that regularly enters in and out of the dwarf star. Now, there are so many things. And I gave you a little link if you want to read more about that. We've spoken of it, but there's so much to go into today. I'm just trying to give us some basics. And of course, you can read more about it. They are genetically modifying us. But unfortunately, some of the genetic modification has come from us. We've done these things. We're using these things. Just as broccoli and carrots are a genetic mutation, grown, modified, transmuted to become something it is not, a food. Foods do certain things in our bodies. If you are not those certain things, you're not needed. Interferon. Something that was presented to me again because my doctor would like me to go on interferon again. Let me tell you what interferon is. It is derived from human cells, specifically from foreskin. They use this as a treatment for all autoimmune illnesses. Foreskin is where they're getting a lot of the steroid stuff from. Takes some deep research to find it, but that's what you're shooting up with, basically. Now, if you're taking it, you need to stop, because this is one of the darkest, most satanic rituals being used against us right now. Look at the name of what they call this chemical, interferon. Hello. Look at the drama they caused to get it. Foreskin is part of a man's primordial power. This is his strength. It contains the highest amount of mitochondrial DNA. This is his power to regenerate. You do not need help from the medical profession, because they have to have read what's in this stuff. They are whores. And I must just call it sick. Yeah, I'm thinking of mostly bad words right now. You know, we have a cave. We have a cave in this world right now in Vietnam. It's over 200 meters high. It has its own climate. It has its own jungles. It has its own rivers. It has its own clouds inside. If we found one of these, do we not have Middle Earth? Do we not have an entire other beings here that we don't know about? Why would we not have so much more than we are being told? The food that we're given to eat, part of it, well, part of the huge problem is we've messed with our own food. Did we know? Don't know. Did everyone know? I know I sure as heck didn't know. I knew tofu was bad. I didn't know how bad it was. They've gotten to a point where they can edit genes. Now, we've looked at this before, and if they're telling us they can do this, they've been able to do it for a long time. But they can edit pig organs, genes, specifically. Direct plant transplant from pig to human. If they can do it with one, they can do it with many things, of course. Have they already done it? My guess would be, oh yeah, because if they're telling us about it, way past we're gonna. To me, this means they've absolutely already done this. So what about our goddess? What about the lost wife? That for some reason, well, we know the reasons. There's always the same reason, isn't it? That they have just mutated our history. Because if we ever really understood how powerful we are, and I think at this point a lot of people just, as much as they say they believe, they don't believe it. They don't. Maybe it's easier at this point to just give up. Forget. when we look at she who treads on the sea, this is her name. Treasure trove of Canaanite stories, other writings in Ugarit, modern-day Syria. Which is no surprise to me why Syria is being friggin' devastated. They have discovered that the mysterious Asherah, not an object, but a goddess, the Great Mother. Did they find something else? No, Asherah's image was not lost to us by chance, but a deliberate action of fundamentalists. Images torn down, stories rewritten, her name forgotten. In fact, her name appears 40 times in modern translations of this Bible. Of course, not in English. Certainly not after the King James Version. Because the king sat there, said, it will be rewritten in a certain way, and I'm going to sit back and watch. I'm not going to say anything, you just do it. And then he killed everyone who was in the room. A couple guys left with that book. Now the argument is straightforward. Asherah was known as a Canaanite goddess, a mother goddess, and the wife of the father. Because you're starting an entire civilization. You're going to make all of the rocks, all of the waters, all of the stars, all of the planets, all of the dust. You don't send one guy for this. Nothing I've ever seen works like that. So, the name is mentioned repeatedly, worshipped all over the world. Israelites, to the dismay of monotheists, of course. Her name is found in inscriptions with and beside Yahweh. A mother goddess image is found frequently in homes of all ancient sites bombed. She was worshipped in the woods with Baal and Yahweh's temple. Common sense interpretation is that the Israelites worshipped Israelites. Yeah, I know what I said. The mother goddess. That she was the wife of whatever male god had the upper hand at the time. El, Baal, Yahweh, whatever. The Israelite religion was not much different from the Canaanite religions, from the majority of the religions of Upper Africa and Lower Europe and most of the world. Maybe it's so old. Maybe it's that old that when we were on that one island again. Now the gods vied for supremacy, but the goddess remained. Archaeologists in the Holy Land tended to be religious and entered a field of biblical archaeology in order to unearth evidence substantiating the Bible story. It was taken a while for plain truth to be clear. And gradually, however, more objective stuff and realists have come out saying that there was a mother goddess. And this is the same story told all over the world when you get deep down into it. In Ugarit, she was known as Athriatu Yami, she who tends the sea, or treads the sea. There's an argument about that. She should tread lightly. I don't know if she's Jamaican, but there's almost always a mother goddess, and, well, that kind of makes sense. Now, suggesting she was responsible for ending a time of chaos, representing by the primordial sea, the beginning of the the process of creation, the sea god, or sea serpent, Yam. is an entity upon which she trod. In particularly bizarre and suggestive passage in the Bible, how this stated, Lord only knows. Kings 18:4. One monotheist reformer, pursuing the typical course of smashing and crashing and destroying sacred stones and cutting down the Asherahs and the records, this additional fact came out. He broke into pieces the bronze snake Moses had made. For up to that time the Israelites had been burning incense to it. It was called Nehashtan. What? This odd passage opens up a whole freaking can of worms for me. Here are the serpent and the tree being worshipped together. Garden of Eden, anyone? But a different story, would it not be? Because Moses was supposedly worshipping these two things together, the serpent and the tree. And that pretty much goes anti-biblically, like saying, like, no, he's worshipping it. That's Moses, that's your guy, right? So, what exactly were these people doing there in the woods? They were worshipping idols, of course, burning incense, we are told. This passage from Hosea, is instructive. Hosea 4:12-13 condemns those who inquire of a thing of wood, suggesting they were asking questions of an oracle, who sacrifice under an oak, a poplar, and terebinth, a pine, basically, because their shade is good. They are accused also of playing the harlot, which could be a reference to sexual activity or simply an analogy for the monotheists, are claiming that people sold out to the false Canaanite gods. Israel was considered the bride of Yahweh, even in monotheist thought, so worshipping other gods was whoring after them. These passages make sense when you understand that the tree symbol is closely connected to Asherah. Now we know she was worshipped in wood, with an image made of wood, and that people sought knowledge and made sacrifices to her. And I've told you, some of the oldest tree stands on this planet are in the United States, and they are pine. And if you found the first tree, would you not think there might be a pine cone, pineal gland? And if you look up what pine pollen does, which I've talked to you guys about, which I'm taking, pine pollen is powerful. Now, pine may be a male tree, but it depends on how you look at it. It means if I'm eating pine pollen, it's kind of dirty. I'm not going to think about it. You know what I'm eating in. But on the first story with God with breasts that I told you about Tuesday, this being is not male and is not female. His children kind of tended towards one side, but he is a she, and both. Now these passages do make sense when you think of her as a tree. And one of Asherah's titles was Elat, which means goddess, just as El means only the Canaanite god El. Well, not only the Canaanite god El, but God in general. But El-At, it's like Ba'at in In Tibetan, anything with a T in it means the combination of the two. Sometimes it means just female. Sometimes it means just male. With a T, this alat means she's both. L and at. So interesting, the word alat is translated in the Bible as Terry Benith. It's a large shade tree found in Israel. Pine tree. They're not specific. I'm saying pine. Just because. A great deal of time, God is the translation, not of Yahweh, his particular name given to Moses, but the Hebrew name Elohim, which is plural, gender neutral, meaning closer to gods. This word is also related to the word for oak tree. What did it really mean to the ancients to worship in a grove of trees? And why do we worship in groves of trees all over the world? To see God as like the oaks? And now, is that one of the reasons why tree hugging is bad and they're looked down at? Now, the goddess as a green tree, spreading her leaves over the worshippers, providing shade in a hot country. And then it goes to the green man, which is Cain, that we have talked about, who was actually so black he was almost green looking, and it goes back to the land of Nod, which most likely is Afghanistan. We'll get into that. Now, Hebrews are not alone in the worship of gods of the forest, of course. Celtic, Greek, Germanic also worshipped in groves. Every people all over the world worshipped in groves, and it's why the dark side has that nasty grove thing where they, do the bounce with each other. Now, our gods were gods of nature. These were the netters. Nature. Natural. That's why we're called natives. The place that we're in. By the way, you're in a place, you're the third generation you're there, you're of that place. You have nothing to do with the old country. Change your diet. Now, were the Israelites so different? In the Bible, Elohim created man and woman. Now we know that the monotheistic veneer of our Bible doesn't quite represent the Hebrew religion on the ground. I mean the folk religion as opposed to book religion. Let's take a closer look at the Creator. Genesis 1:26. Then Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over the earth, all over the creatures that move along the ground." So Elohim created in his own image, the image of Elohim, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Kind of takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? And with the African passages that I've read to you, this is an ancient way of putting things. When you become aware, the mother goddess too, being worshipped next to God, in every home, under every green tree in the forest grove, who is this us doing the creating? Well, eventually the creators is our male and female, like the creatures he, she, they created. Now look at the later passage. Kings 18:19, which makes it clear Asherah was served by 40 or 400 prophets. This is no minor religion. These are priests, these are prophets, those are the ones spreading the word. Now maybe when the prophets complained that she was worshipped under every tree, they meant it. That's why we still have that expression today. Every tree, every home, and also sometimes in a temple. Although it's from her we hear not to go inside, but to go outside. In Exodus, we are told that God warned people to get rid of Asherah's emblems when they conquered the land of Canaan. In the periods of the books of the Judges and the Kings, we are told that the good prophets, kings, and reformers continually had to burn and smash the idols of Asherah. Finally, in Jeremiah, we are told that the worship of Asherah has resulted in the fanatical monotheistic God's decision to wipe out Israel completely and Judah, the southern portion of the formerly United Kingdom. Oh yeah, that's who you're named after, by the way, brothers and sisters. Now, via the invasion of outside people. The thing is, we are told most of these things by a singular author, or a group of authors. The Deuteronomists. It's a group of guys. In this chapter, possibly group of chapters, writing and rewriting portions of the Bible in later days, around the 7th century BC, either just before or during the exile of the Jews to Babylon. Now, according to these guys, Deuteronomists, the priest Hilkiah claims in 2 Kings chapter 22 to have discovered the ancient laws of Moses during temple renovations. These writings, the Book of Law, mysteriously mislaid, hidden, leading to Israel to get its religion completely wrong, apparently, because nobody read this one. Now, the works of these guys conveyed a story that the Israelites had a covenant with Yahweh to worship Him and only Him. They claimed the Israelites had taken Canaan by force through holy war, in which they massacred the original inhabitants, putting to death, by God's command, men, women, children, animals, especially cows, and burning down of trees in Jericho. This claim is surprisingly not supported by anything. Not the archaeological record, no history, never happened. He claimed, though, that God was a jealous God. This was a new concept. It didn't happen before the 7th century. One who demanded to be worshipped alone, and who would punish the unfaithful by bringing other nations to conquer them if they worshipped others. So, was this the religion of Israel? Is this the religion of our brothers and sisters who call themselves Christian? It is not, nor ever was it. The common folk kept right on putting up their Asherahs in the woods and the temples, and the little votive Asherahs in their home shrines, like little candle burning, incense. That's why we burn incense all over the world, everywhere we go. Again, one religion, not the bloodshed religion that we are told we are. Now, only after Israel was conquered and the people of Judah returned from exile in Babylon did the fundamentalist fanatics with their violent, patriarchal, monotheistic God win the Deuteronomist work, along with the works of two primary authors, the Yahwist and the Elohist, were compiled by a fourth source called the priestly source to become the Bible that we have today. Cross-dressing Jesuit that I've mentioned before. Now, Ashera, the tree goddess, the mother of life, lost. Truly, we were cast out of the garden at that point. Cast from the Garden of Eden by Yahweh, or at least his new supporters. Separated from the tree of life, our mother. Tree of life that looks like the inside of a womb, placenta specifically. Our mother, we are floundering like orphans. America's religiousness is more comparable to Iran's than that of Western Europe, where Yahweh's religion is in decline. Is it a coincidence that we, the worshippers of the male warrior, spend their money on war like children are allowed to live in poverty without health care? Worshippers of a sky god, we are so alienated from our earthly mother that we now endanger all life by our activities. And the hard edge of the fundamentalists who claim to have found the one true law, and believers who think otherwise are worthy of death, or eternal damnation, if you will, is still with us today. Still, I think it has ever been a relatively small percentage of people who hold the hardest to the edge of monotheism. We are surrounded by Mother Nature. She seeps into our traditions. The Shekinah, Mary, the Mother of God, the Christmas tree, the Easter egg, the bumper sticker imploring us to honor thy mother, with an image of the earth as seen from above, the fairies and the elves and the lost brides of our children's tales. All ways in which the Mother Goddess seeps into our lopsided psyche. The Goddess is lost, officially, but remember, deep within our minds, you can't tear this away from us. Archaeology's gift of restoring Ashera to our consciousness reminds us of what we know. God, indeed, has a wife. He must, for if we are his children, then we must have a mother. Now, we go to the serpent's bride. Is the world good? Is it bad? Who made us? Why did they make us? These are the questions of ancient myths, religions, that they are attempting to answer. All of the stories are about this, and the answers matter. A belief in a goddess, who is Mother Nature personified, is different than belief in a jealous, vengeful warrior creator. It's different because it shapes how we feel about the world and what we do while we're in it. When the writers and impilers of our historic religion decides to edit out the goddess Ashera, they changed how we see the world. They changed it in one foul swoop. They changed it planet-wide. They changed us. And so they changed our world. Eve and the serpent. Some of the Bible's most devout readers are unaware of the impossibility of literal belief in its accounts. Take creation, for example. The account of mankind's creation by Elohim translated as God, but technically it's a plural word, in Genesis, followed by chapters 2 and 3 by another creation story, which contradicts the first one on several key points. In this second account, the personal God Yahweh is given the name, the God Yahweh is given as the name of the Creator in the original Hebrew text. This God is spoken of as singular, unlike the first account in which the Elohim says, "Let us create man in our image." Rather than speaking as the head of a council, Yahweh clearly creates alone. He walks into the Garden of Eden, in which he has placed his creation, implying that he has a physical form, which is why the gardens, still in Syria, Babylon, so Iraq and Iran, have feet prints on the ground. This is God walking. Now, the Elohim created both male and female in our image. At the same time, together, Yahweh creates only the man at first. He places him in the garden with two trees, tree of life and the tree of knowledge. He's instructed to eat from the first, but not the second. He told him if he eats from the tree of knowledge, he's going to die. In the first account, there is no mention of the Garden of Eden or any magical trees. There isn't. Humans are made last, after everything else, light and dark, earth and sea, plants and animals. God, or gods, pronounces that the creation is good, creates man and woman to rule over the creatures, although the original translation looks more like tend to, ministrate to, not rule over. Rule is the later translation of even that one. But anyway, it was over all of which had already been created, that already existed, that we came after to be the caretakers, which is why so many places have caretaker or husbandry. This is what husbandry means, to be the caretaker. Now, in the second account, man is made after the plants and the animals are created afterwards to amuse Adam, because he's lonely. Really. So unlike the first account, in this version of the story, woman is made later, when the animals fail to pique Adam's interest or relieve his loneliness. She is not even conceived in the same fashion. Adam is made of mud. His name means both mankind and red earth, filled with the breath of God. Eve is made from Adam's rib while he's sleeping. Now, the author of the second account goes on then to tell what is certainly one of the best known stories of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Now, the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" So it's crafty. Which is interesting. It kind of reminds me of the conversation that Eve had, well, not Eve, but Inanna had with that fox thing, when we go back to the story of Enki a couple weeks ago. But anyway, so the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of a garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." "You will not surely die," the serpent said to the woman. By the way, she was stealing the ark in the older story. In this book, the ark doesn't come till later. It's interesting. But still points to there had to be one story. But I'll go on. "For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. So instead of your eyes being wide shut, they will be opened." Doesn't say that. Implies it. "So when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye," so it's implying she didn't even look at it before, "and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some. She ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it." So at this point, Adam's standing there saying nothing. He's in the garden, he's got trees, and he's got animals, and he's got one woman. And this serpent is telling her what to do, and Adam's just got nothing to say about it. See, I haven't met that guy. Have you met that guy? Every man I've ever met would have said, "Listen," and beat the crap out of him or something. He'd have a say. I have not met the quiet men like this Adam, who's just standing there going, "Okay, I'm going to eat it." No, I have not met the Homer Simpson of males. But we'll go on. "So she gave some to her husband, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves." So immediately they did what was done to us, all the people of the world, when we were taken by the crazy people. They immediately gave us food that we're not supposed to eat because it makes us sick, and gave us clothes. We don't need clothes for the most part. Unless we're in a cold place, then we need clothes. "So the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of day. And they hid from the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called the man and said, 'Where are you?' He answered, 'I heard you in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid.' And he said, 'Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?' And the man said, 'The woman you put here with me gave me some of the fruit, and I ate it.'" So Adam's telling, that woman, you made me. She did it. Yeah, I'm not loving this guy. And let's talk about the God. God's like, "Adam, where are you?" So creator of the entire universe doesn't know where Adam and Eve are. As a matter of fact, he doesn't know, after he's created everything, doesn't know that you tell two kids, "Don't eat that tree," that's the first thing they're going to do. You turn your head, they're touching that. Oh my God, they don't even need a serpent. They're going to be touching it. And of course lying about it. And kind of blaming each other for it. But that little passage, that woman you put in there, it's her fault. So anyway. Then the Lord said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So God goes on to administer several punishments for the offense of eating from the tree of knowledge. humans are cast out of the garden, and so prevented from eating the tree of life. The man will toil in the earth with difficulty. The woman will be ruled over by her husband, who we have already established is a complete idiot, and give birth to children in pain, and the snake will crawl in his belly. Some commenters inferred that this means the snake originally had legs, and we have seen pictures of snakes with legs, so they actually had legs. Maybe they threw that part in there because they wanted to say eventually they're going to find this historical fact, so we should put something in there. Anyway, and be hated by humans. The snakes, not the women, although women aren't doing all that great for love right now either. So 2 angels and a flaming sword now guard the entrance to the garden, and we can never go back. The serpent god. The great historian of mythology, Joseph Campbell, dryly observes that nothing is said in the story to indicate that the serpent in the story was a deity in his own right throughout the entire earth. Likewise, we're going to have to look that no ancient Hebrew reader of this story would have any difficulty identifying the tree of life with the mother goddess Asherah, whose tree of life image, according to the Bible, was worshipped under every green tree, which also resided in the Temple of Jerusalem for between 236 of the 370 years it stood in Jerusalem. Probably why there was this great white tree in Lord of the Rings. Shout out to the Garden of Eden. So it may be that Eve herself is an allegory for Asherah, as her name means the mother of life and is linguistically related to Asherah and oil and olive oil, and why there's so much problems in the Middle East right now. Home. Now, Joseph Campbell believed that the serpent in the Eden story was lifted directly from either the Sumerian god Enki, going back and then, god of water and wisdom, or his son Nigizda, both of whom were serpent gods and other things. Enki was possessed of food and water of life, as well as the tablets of wisdom. Ningizda was the lord of the tree of truth. These gods may have been carried into Canaan with the Israelites after they left the Sumerian Babylonian city of Ur, or absorbed from their eastern neighbors at a later time, or their southern or northern neighbors, whenever, or from the first island, which I'm leaning towards now. Now, much of the Hebrew Bible was compiled, edited, rewritten way after the Hebrews were conquered, way after they were exiled in Babylon, 6th, 7th century BC. Virtually all of the first 11 chapters of Genesis completely rewritten, stolen from much earlier tales. In them, Enki, rather than Yahweh, creates humans from mud, saves the prototype of Noah from the flood by teaching him to rebuild the ark. Now, for more biblical links to creation, we'll have to go through the older stories again, but, we've done it. We know that Asherah worship was connected with prophecy. Serpents are also connected with both wisdom and prophecy throughout the Mediterranean. In Greece, we've got the Oracle of Delphi, which was called Pythia, after the great serpent, the python, who was defeated by the god Apollo there. Sumer, Babylonian, the god Enki, lord of water. Wisdom symbolized with the great walking serpent, the dragon king, the dragon lord. Later became the drag queen, cross-dressing Jesuits. As was his son, Nig Izdia. And symbolic image again, surrounded by two twining serpents. This is the Naga, this of Africa, South Africa, South East Africa, and all of the Nagas. This is why we had Nagasaki. That's probably why we bombed Nagasaki. This is that whole story. Nagas, these are the serpents. These are the dragon kings. Now, Ning Izida, which is probably related to the Naga, was an underworld deity, paradoxically a guardian of the sky god, Anu's celestial temple. He was also the god of trees, interestingly enough. Now the Greek god Hermes, messenger of the gods, had his staff of entwined serpents too. The image of the mystical knowledge has been changed and usurped. Some would say medical profession. This is the rod of Asclepius, originally a single serpent wrapped around a staff. Ancient image of healing. Life and knowledge always connected to snakes for a long time. So is the goddess. We will continue this story because it is far from over. Thank you for joining me today. Love you guys.